How you doing today,
I'm
Ms.
great.
Young?
How are you? I got it.
I am doing great today.
Great.
So, we're gonna get started with the first questions up for today. So, my first question I'm gonna ask you is about water quality. What is your stance on the switch from Detroit to KWA?
Shouldn't have never happened. Um, if it was going to take place, it definitely had to be a very carefully well thought out plan. The plan to switch, um, we know it cost many lives. It's cost a lot of grief. Me myself have suffered. Um, family wise, my home has been compromised. If we wanted to switch from Great Lakes up to KWA, that would have been okay had they taken out the time to make sure that it was really thought out. Plenty of public forums should have been held where people could have had more input. Definitely, we already know, definitely, they should have used, the corrosive control. We know that that was the biggest problem. And actually with the water switching over, it might not would have been so bad of an idea had they taken the time and the process to do it properly.
Okay. Okay.
'Cause it wasn't the water switching that was the problem. It was the process in which they did with the water switching. If you understand what I'm saying, it wasn't so much that
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're going to switch the water. It was just that they didn't do everything that they could do to make sure that it was safe. And then there should have been more open forums so that way it could have been discussed better cost, long-term cost, and quality.
All right. Hmm. You say help improve long-term cost and quality. Can you elaborate on that? Like, how much are we paying right now?
That I'm not quite for sure if I know right now we're paying a whole lot more for well, you know what, we got those bonds that's there with Great Lakes water. So we got bonds and everything, and it was set up and designed for us to not have to owe so much money in that long term. But because we have so many people who are not paying for the water, our water rates is higher than any place else in the country. If you, yeah, we pay more water for water that we can't use. They say we can use it. It's not the water that's dirty. We're not gonna go into the technical aspect of it. Yeah, we know the water is not dirty. It's the pipes that's messed up. But guess what? If you taking water and you drinking it out of a dirty bottle and the water wasn't dirty, it's still dirty. It don't make a difference how you add it up. The water quality is not good for us. And for us to be paying as much money as we're paying now, mm-mm, we shouldn't be paying that. KWA wants to come in because they wanted to come in and said that they could cut the cost for us right here in Flint. Actually, they could not. When you look at it long term, they were not cutting the cost of what it was going to cost us for water overall. For the whole city to be able to be on KWA, it wasn't a cost. It wasn't cost effective. And they knew that. But if you start to thinking about some of the key players that's involved with the KWA, it's more of our local people that's involved with the KWA versus with the Great Lakes Water Authority. And that's where we messed up.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I'm gonna ask the next question now. All right. How would you go about sharing additional details on the switch with the Flint community to build transparency?
How would I go about adding? You talking about like
Hmm.
as far as us letting and making sure that the public is well known and well versed in what's going on? We definitely need to have ward meetings, ward by ward meetings, real meetings that where the public can ask questions. They can talk and have some dialogue. It couldn't happen in one meeting. It probably wouldn't happen in two or three meetings. You got to keep having the meetings until people are assured that whatever it is that we're going to be doing, that is in their best interest. They have the right to ask questions. They have the right to know and be able to go to different websites and lead them there and let them know. With the one thing that we don't do, a lot of times we'll tell each other or we'll tell our public, well, you can look it up for yourself. And then they say, well, where do I look it up? But just go on the Michigan or the city's website and you go in there and you all know, we know how technology is. You got different links and hyperlinks. So when you start to doing that with people, you got to help them to be able to see it. Even if you're doing a whole process with showing them exactly what's on that website, you got to do it. The people deserve transparency.
Mm. All right. I'm gonna ask the next question. How would you ensure that this switch happens safely? Will there be testing required? Uh, yeah, pretty much. How would you go about ensuring that happens safely?
Well, the switch is already, you talking about the switch that's going to be done or the switch that's already done? I'm not quite for sure. Because you
That's
know what?
going to be done.
That's going, because they are in the process of going through it slowly but surely, but by blending the water, that's in the process right now. People need to know, people are not testing their water in their homes right now. I'll put it like this: the majority of the people are not testing the water in their home, as it was in the beginning when the water crisis was first revealed back in 2016. We need to get our navigators back out there and helping people to learn and understand that they need to test that their waters. Take myself. I have a whole house filtration system here in my home. So it's times where I go and get my water tested because I want to see if the filter is still working properly in my home. Just believe me, I still get lead in my water, even with a whole house filtration system. When the filter is starting to wear out, there's lead coming in my house. So if the water quality is okay and it's coming into my home, it's coming into my home already with lead in it. So we got to get out and start making sure that we get people with testing. We need to get the navigators back out there as it was done in 2016. We need to go back and revisit all of that. Those are jobs that even if we had employment, because you're talking about economic development too, is one of the things we're gonna go into. You got you got youth that can be trained and have the youth programs that can go back out and help with with testing in the home. You know, when I was growing up, we had all of the youth programs where you had youth that was employed. They were employed in a bank, so they got great training. They was employed with the city. They got great training. They was employed in the community with helping pick up and clean up. Great training. Why can't we get the youth out there and get them trained to be able to go out and navigate a few hours a week, whatever they work permit would allow them to, and go in and help people who can't test their waters or go out and pass out water testing kits. You and we will never know if that water quality is actually as good as they say it is, because we only thing they're doing is testing it at the water plant. Are they testing it as it come through those pipes and hit the homes and actually come into the homes? That's where you're going to find out if the water quality is really what it's supposed to be.
I actually need to get one of them. I don't know when was the last time, low key, I've done that here.
Yeah.
Uh, all right then. I really like that answer. We do need that because I completely forgot all about it. you know. Uh, so I'm gonna head on to the next question: communication plan and outreach strategy. So for those in your ward who have not had their LSLR, how will you conduct outreach to ensure all households have their lines replaced?
First thing is door to door. I can just tell you right now, for me canvassing, I can't tell you how many people doors I have knocked on who said they haven't had their lines replaced or haven't had their lines checked. I also had um, a couple of other people who have had their lines checked, and the next step is what, replacing the sidewalks to make it safe and replacing their lines, and that haven't been done either. So we have several steps that haven't been taken care of, but to check and make sure that their lines are getting at least checked, we need to go out and canvas, go door to door. Some of them you can tell because you can tell by, you know, you could tell by the grass, you could tell by the sidewalk that they've been replaced. So you can kind of see those and canvas those. But I have an older gentleman that lived right around the corner from me, about his mid 80s, and he said that no one has ever come out to his home. I asked him, did he call? I got the number, gave him the phone number to call. But this gentleman lives by himself. So we need somebody who who will help him to take care and follow through with that process. not only just our elderly is like that, but we have people who have learning disabilities or something like that need help. Those are the people who are getting lost. And hate to mention it and gotta mention it, but those people got lost and missed also in the lawsuit. They did not get a chance to put in a claim because they had not properly canvassed and went out and asked people about signing up for the lawsuit. I don't think we have 50% of the people signed up for the lawsuit here in this city. And they're entitled to something.
I don't even think I'm so. Think my mom did it.
I hope she did. It's just, I mean, we got a whole population of people that's getting missed out on. Some people didn't even know that they could even file the papers for the lawsuit. By the time they found out, you go down there and you got a line of 30 or 40 people standing outside of the law office that's trying to get help with filling out papers. That's not doing them any good. You know, people are not patient. We're not patient. That's a lot. That was overwhelming for me. It was overwhelming for me. I just figured out how to do it online, so
Hmm.
I could avoid standing in the line. And then I knew some other people who actually was who actually did needed help, and I was out till like 10, 11 o'clock that night filling out papers and helping people do theirs online. And that, just going to their houses, hey, you know anybody that need it? I probably filled out at least 15 myself with people online. Make sure you got all your information. I'll come to you. I'll do it. And I was just doing it on my own. Like, you got to have an email. I I actually have several emails. Some people I ended up using my other emails because they didn't have one. And I was like, we're going, because I didn't have time to set them up with an email. They were family that I did that with, but I helped them with setting up there so that way that I wanted to make sure I followed through for them. So when I got all of the communication back, it was coming in my email because I knew they weren't going to follow through. So I made sure, I'm like, hey, look, I got an email. This is what you need to do. But just think how many more people actually needed people to advocate for them, and they're not out there. Yeah.
Mm. Flint got a small voice already. It's even worse if smaller
Yeah.
ones don't. All right, all right. Do you know the percentage of service lines that need to be replaced in your ward?
No, I do not. I'm being
All
honest.
right.
I don't know the percentage. We do need that's something I do need to check on, but I do not know the percentage. Sometimes we don't get clear answers anyway. We haven't gotten clear answers when we ask about different things here in the community. I'm just being honest. So I'm not quite for sure. I might could call and if I could get in touch with Mike Brown, who's down in the part over the Department of Public Works. I might can get an answer. Yeah, I might can get an answer, but I do not.
Okay. All right. So it appears that LSLR is not occurring due to lack of funding. How much of a priority is LSR to your platform, and how will you go about ensuring that the program is fully funded?
It's important. You know what? We got emergency funds. We got 47 million that's been sitting here since May that haven't been spent.
That's a new number, 47 million
Yes,
since May.
it's been in an account since May. We got another 47 million that'll come next year, depending on how we handle this 47 million. We had over 94 million total that was granted to Flint from the COVID that relief program,
Mm-hmm.
and we have 47 million that's actually sitting. They say in the bank, as it was mentioned here in the last couple of days, drawing interest. So what are we going to do with that money? That's the community's money. That money don't belong to no one that's in any elected position, no one that has been appointed to any position, no one that's been hired to work for the city. It belongs to the people. The people deserve to have a word in how that money is being spent. What would the people want the money to be spent on? They're actually asking about infrastructure, line replacement in their homes. I got a faucet here in my own home in my basement that when I had the water tested, I told a story, and I admitted to the state. I told a story and said it was one of my bathrooms. It tested over 100 parts per billion with the whole house filtration system on. It was so bad that the state came and showed up at my door. And I was like, okay, what's going on that you're here? And they said, your lead is very high coming out of one of your faucets. I admitted to her it was the faucet out the basement, but it shouldn't be any faucet in my home. So now you know that the water has already tampered with my and compromised my infrastructure here in my home. So I mean, like, why can't I get some of that money? Because I'm only, do you know from the lawsuit that we're not going to get that much if you don't have any conditions, medical conditions from the water, you'll be doing good. They're saying to get less, just less than $1,000. That won't cover anything in my house getting replaced. That's not going to replace any of my faucets, any of my lights. I've already had to replace the sink faucet in my kitchen twice because it rusted from the water that's coming through. I pay for a whole house filtration system. I pay $150 a year at least or less, a year or less, for new filters to go in that. And I've had that filtration system in my house since 2016. So you do the math on that and just look at, I'm not going to, nowhere will I ever be compensated for what I spent, but I can't replace life. So I had to sacrifice and get that $150 filters to put in my house. Those filters remove everything. They're actually better than the filters at the water plant. The water plant filters, if you go and start doing and looking at the studies that they do from the water filters, I mean, the filtration system of water plant, they don't remove pharmaceuticals. People don't know there's pharmaceuticals in the water. So my filters that's in my basement, they remove pharmaceuticals, they remove copper, they remove dirt. It's a list of the things that it removes from the water. I look at it every time and it tells and it lists them out. It's constantly removing, and I know my water is clean. I get it tested as soon as I get the filter on. I make sure that it's clean every time. And see, and then, but now, like now, it's getting close to about a year. It will be a year in December. So now I got to go back and I need to make sure I get the filter and get it changed. I'll probably get it done before Thanksgiving, at least by the end of October, between there and Thanksgiving. Because I mean, with the water here the way it is and the stuff that's coming through those lead service, those service lines coming into our home, you got to get them replaced before the year is up. If you don't, you're gonna end up with stuff. I can tell when my skin starts to burning and itching a little bit. It's time to get that stuff removed. It removes the chlorine and all of that stuff from the water, so it makes the water pure. That chlorine is burning a lot of us that's in that water, and I have it tested. You know, a lot of us are not don't clearly understand what it is that happened with us with that water. You can look across the country. Look at Milwaukee. Study Atlanta. They have done major water studies in those cities. You got cities in Texas. They can't drink the well water. The water in the wells have been contaminated. This isn't an isolated incident here in Flint. Flint was just the epicenter with exposing it. So everybody got to check and see about their infrastructure in their cities. Lansing, did you know that um, Lansing actually replaced their whole infrastructure in their city over the course, I think it was about close to 10 years. It took them to do it, but they was proactive instead of being reactive. They did it before it got to be that bad. That's what we got to do. So even if your home is okay, you might want to start thinking about replacing different things. I got a free hot water tank. I got a free tank. So at least my water that's coming into that tank is now clean water that's coming in here because it's getting filtered. But I mean, just think of how many people here in the city that didn't get one. I talked to an elderly man just here the other day that has a double amputation above the knee. Knocked on his door and he stood in his door and talked to me for an hour. He needs a water filter. So I gave him a couple of numbers he could call the G card. But hopefully if his income don't qualify him, he may be skating on the edge where he might not even qualify. But G card had actually sent me over to where I needed to get it done. There's a lot of different programs that's around here, but the people are not receiving those resources as we should. That's where we got to get those navigators back out there, get the community back engaged. We cannot forget 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, we got to go back to that and say, where do we need to start and what do we need to do? We need to get back out there again. And every time I get the chance and somebody comes to the door, I take the opportunity to say something to them about it.
All right. Uh, I got one question. We're gonna head on to like the next few of them.
Okay.
So, do you know much about how our money is being spent for the Flint water crisis? Like, because it all ain't going to the city.
Nope. You talking about the money that came in from the federal government, and the federal government released their money to the state. The state kind of, well, this is what we're going to give you and this is what we're going to do. So they apparently, I haven't seen it in writing, but I've heard it said multiple times, and actually the papers was flashed in front of us. Some of the money went and helped rebuild a library in Lansing. What does that have to do with Flint? The money, a lot of people took money and had a lot of different things done that didn't benefit the residents of Flint. Some of it went into business and downtown economic development. What that got to do with the people on the north side of Flint? Many of the people on the north side of Flint don't even go downtown. So there was a lot of money that was spent. And actually, if you go back and look, there was blank lines next to where money was located on the ledgers. We don't know what that money was spent for. It was turned over to various foundations. We don't know what exactly some of that money was spent on. I can't tell you the name of those particular foundations that we don't know where the money was spent, but I do know some of the foundations that it was turned over to. We know that is it not community first, but I'm not for sure about community first, but some of it was supposed to be spent on helping the residents, and it should have been spent on helping us. We actually wanted to propose every house to get a whole house filtration system. I still advise, regardless if the water crisis is over with and it's settled right now, I advise everyone to get a whole house filtration system in your home. That's my advice. We tried to do that. Because if you got it in there and then you had a spend down account to where you could replace those filters, guess what? You would be ensuring that every house would be able to get good clean water. Who wants to take a bath with a bottle of water? That doesn't make sense. That and right now people are still afraid and can't take water. So all of our water pots have basically dried up. We only got a few, and that's the ones that Nestle is sending water in. Nestle is part of the problem, but Nestle is actually sending the water in for those particular water pots. But guess what? If you're homebound or don't have transportation, you ain't getting water. I got another gentleman right here. I'm telling you, I'm meeting people. We got great people here in the second ward. I do. I love our people, regardless to the results in November. I'm keeping in contact with them because I love the people that I'm meeting. But I got a homebound family right now. Do not have transportation to get water and can't get water to their home. So I'm thinking about going out and volunteering at one of the places that's giving out the water because they give us the opportunity to get water and then load up so I can take and deliver water to some of them. So I don't have to stand in a line just to get water for them. And they only gonna limit me if I stand in a line. I can get more water by volunteering and getting water than I can by standing in a line to get water.
Where is this at? Because I live in the second ward.
Do you? So I know I'm. Hey, look! Look at you! Look at that smile there. We watching you. Now where you can get the water is I actually out on Carpenter. I mean, Door Highway near Carpenter Road, Greater Holy Temple, and they do water. They do it on Thursday. They actually usually get the truck from Nestle. There's a couple of other places too that actually pass out water, but I know that they give water. The last time I went out there and volunteered, I loaded up as much water as I could in my car and I just brought it and started delivering it. I don't use
Do
this
you know who's funding that?
Nestle.
So
It
they're
comes,
just donating water just on their own?
they should. They
Yeah,
should. They got
no.
the land for a
Their
dollar.
CEO is Rick Snyder's wife.
Yeah,
Uh,
because they got the land for a little or nothing, a dollar. So they should donate that and some. They should be donating more than that, really, to be honest. That's just my view on it. Right. That's Rick Snyder's family. So he looked out after them, but they donating water. I mean, come on, let's be for real. They donate water, they get a big write-off. That
Oh,
helps
I
big.
know.
That helped them
Oh,
with
they
their
not. Yeah, they ain't clean.
right. So I mean, I'm just being for real. That's I mean, I don't want to sound negative because we're happy that they're giving that water. But look at who was the problem with the water being part of the problem with the water being like that. We still have the whole issue with him that we haven't taken care of. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go on to the next question. All
Okay.
right. So there is a significant amount of funding coming from the Biden administration to address environmental justice concerns, such as the Justice 40 initiative, which is President Biden's accountability plan to allocate at least 40% of funding to Black, Latinx, Indigenous, and historically disenfranchised communities. How will you engage with other policymakers at the local, state, and federal levels to ensure resources reach the Flint residents the way they're intended to serve and support?
Hmm. Okay, that's a lot to bite off. On my mind is going back to the beginning, but the funding that should be coming in that we're getting coming in. I don't know if you know it, but here recently I did get appointed to the board at the library. That happened last week. We know that Flint has a literacy program. There's areas in Flint that the people definitely are destitute from library services and having accessibility to the things that they need. For instance, today, the area that I walked in, I just came in not long ago from walking over in one area, and they looked at me and said, "No one ever comes over here, and we don't have any type of resources and programs that comes in this area." My family and some of my friends are adopting a park that's in that area. So I talked to them and said, "I need you all to give us feedback on the type of programs that you want. Though that you want to come over here. That park is owned and ran by the county. I'm working now with the county, not even in office. I'm working with the county now to talk about some of the programming that we can bring to that particular park. One of the programs that we want to bring there, and I'll just share this. We want to do a fishing program with the youth. That's something that we're talking about. So bringing funding in, now we need to make sure that we got the things in place to be able to do those kind of things. We don't want we want to do fun activities, but fun activities that we're learning from. You can learn so much from having fun and engaging. What about art in the park for the children? Like I said, the fishing program, we need fishing reels. What about other educational programs, or even start to talking about possibly at some point in time the literacy programs on the north end of town, especially. And I say the north end of town because that's where where your Black community is located, is on the north side of town. So we got to think about that. Even over in the third ward, there's a whole section in the third ward that is not getting or do not have access to many activities and things. The people on that community was talking about how come we don't have uh, 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 backpacks and school supply giveaways in their community. We're not having any of that kind of stuff. We have it in a lot of other communities. Like I said, we can go over to Haskell or Hasselbring. We can go over there and get that, but then that's a ways for us to travel to get in and to get back home without a car. So you got a lot of different things. Would it hurt us if we had free transportation, maybe on the bus, a bus pass for them to get to some of these things, these programs? That would help break down that barrier. Some of these ideas got to be brought to light, but we got to talk, like you say, on the federal level, the state level, and the county level on what it is, what part they want to play in here, and they got funding for it. We know that the funding is coming in. We have to make sure we have to be the watchers and make sure it come in correctly.
All right, I'm liking that. Free, yeah. I catch the bus all the time. Soon I'm not about to be anymore. But if the
Yeah,
buses was free, or if I
yeah,
just had free bus passes all the time, I would save so much more money.
right.
And I don't even think I don't know if this was true. I don't know if you can verify this, but like when you pay the bus fare here anyway for MTA Flint, that doesn't even go towards like their funding or anything, does it? It's just for them on the side to do stuff.
Right. It help maintenance and things, other stuff like that. Yeah, because they get grants and funding from the city. Well, they get an allotment from the city. They're part, if I'm not mistaken, I have to go back and double check. There's so many things that have changed that I was like, when did that change? And many of the residents are not aware of some of the changes too, because they're made so quick and fast, and then they're not mentioned again. So if the change happens, where the funding is coming from and how it's funded, they don't know. And I can just say, even with me talking here the last couple of weeks about the library, like even the funding, they're no longer underneath the city, and their funding is coming in differently. So it's there's so many changes. If you blink too long, you will miss it. Don't know. So that is something we definitely need to go back and check and see exactly where the funding is coming into the MTA. How are they getting funded and where the money is going? That's an excellent question and a suggestion from you. I got my homework assignment.
Cause like I heard it like once from the security guard. So it was like, so man, that money goes to like they pizza parties and stuff. And I'm like, you lying.
Mm-mm.
But I don't want to act like that's the truth. So that's why I was asking, like,
Right, it's probably for employee incentives and things like that, and they do stuff for incentives for employees that because you got to keep your employees happy. That's true. So I can understand that. Yes, sir.
all right, on to the next question. So the SPD and funding, non-transparent funding. Okay, how would you improve the availability and accessibility to special education wraparound services in K-12 schools and programs in your ward?
Hmm. I actually just spoke with if you don't know, Jerry Winfrey Carter, is she works with a literacy program, and it's right here at St. Luke's, which is right here in the second ward. I didn't even know she worked up there until maybe a little bit more than a year ago. Um, okay, yep, I'm looking at seeing. Thank you for adding that information into the chat. But I actually did speak out with her as going into being one of the board members at the library, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing with the literacy program? Me and you need to sit down and talk. Maybe it's something that we can help with influence in that manner." Just so you know, I'm an occupational therapist. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually work with special ed children. I actually work and see a lot of the needs and the problems that we have in our program, in our K through 12 program. Many people don't know that after about the fourth, fifth, or sixth grade, many of those services start to disseminate unless they have severe learning disabilities. Like the average age of the children that I was seeing that I treat, none of them are over the fifth grade. Sixth grade, and that's a rarity to have them in the fifth grade. Sixth grade is like, how did we miss them? That's what kind of the questions that we get asked. What we got to do is start to working and building up a partnership in the community with others that like with the school board. Though the city council don't have anything to do with what's going on in the schools with the school board, they can have a partnership and start to talking and seeing where they can help out and kind of cross over with each other. If
Mm-hmm.
it's anything that I can do as far as like helping with facilitating or finding a place that they can facilitate any programs that's after school programs. A lot of times what get missed in those programs, and I'm just gonna be honest, is the parents. The parents are available for the IEPs, and that's it. The parents might get a conference if there's a problem, but they're not brought in. So you find a lot of parents who get frustrated and they kind of just go along to get along in an IEP. I'm as a therapist, I'm watching all facial expressions because I'm trying to especially watch theirs. And I've had parents that have to look like my child isn't having those kind of issues and problems at home. Why is the parent not talked to, or something else is conversed with the parent to help the parent out with caring for that child after time? after they're leaving school. Yes, they do have some stuff. I'm not gonna say that they don't, but sometimes there's other questioning and other support, like support groups that they need. You got a child that's autistic and you're dealing with that child all day long when they're home and they're not in school. You need some support more than just respite care and saying, okay, you need a break. You need other kind of support. So those are kind of things that need to happen. I don't want to cross over into that because that goes more into the school realm. But as a community person, just me with that's my OT stuff that's kicking in as I'm talking, as being an occupational therapist, that's that kicking in, and I'm talking from that sense. But coming in with that perspective, we got to figure out what it is we can do because it's the community as a whole. It's not, oh, that's just a school board problem. We ain't gonna deal with it. No, this is a community as a whole. You have to deal with it. So if I made myself clear, it's the working with as a partnership and seeing what we can't do and giving that family as much support as we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. So, in terms of air quality, which is a yeah, when it turns to air quality, how would you address the lack of HVAC and or mechanisms to remove toxins from indoor air?
From indoor air, you're talking about like that. We need, many of us don't even realize it. And me, myself, I'm guilty of it too. We need to have our furnaces cleaned. We need to have our filters in our homes cleaned on a regular or taken out and changed over on a regular. Many of us don't know that. We don't realize how many of our air ducts. We wondering how come we having so much dust in our home. That's not helping with the air quality. So you got the same air circulating around in your house. Open up them windows. Let's get some education in respect to that to our residents. But not only get an education to it, where in this emergency relief, somewhere or another, we should be able to have some kind of a discount to go to some of these cleaning companies and get some of these things cleaned out. Because just the same, you got a child at home who's not having good air circulating through their home, so they're standing a higher risk of getting COVID. Now they're going to school. Even though they're going to school and the filtration system there is supposed to be much better, they still bringing what they done took from home right into the schools. I mean, it's a cycle. It's not one. You can't clean the school and then they coming from a dirty home and then coming into the school and expect that they not standing the risk of still having COVID. Many of us, we don't get our furnaces and things clean like we supposed to. I'm guilty of not doing that on a regular basis. I'm very guilty of that. I need to. And even changing the filters out. Even in the summertime, you got to change those filters out.
All right. I
Now
got
that's
one.
air quality in the home, not air quality outside, right? Or building air quality, not air quality outside, because we know we got that issue already brewing up already right now too. With the I was
Is
doing with the
is
asphalt Ajax Asphalt Company.
this is just to improve it inside.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
All right. I'm gonna ask some questions from the chat really quick.
okay.
All right. So I think you probably already answered this. So, how or will you advocate for more homes in the city or even your ward to receive home filtration systems like the one you have?
Yes, yes, definitely.
All right. Like, how do you plan on going about like funding and getting that stuff in there?
Um, you know, uh, it kind of it's kind of disheartening because out of all of the monies that we've had the that came into the city, we had enough money to come into the city for every home to have a whole house filtration system. My whole house filtration system didn't cost $500. We had at one particular time we had several people, including Terry Terry X Jaleel X from he got TMC's and electrician and a contractor. He even was offering to help train our young people on how to install them as they were going out working with him, putting them in. He took some of them out to help them show them how to change the filters so that they could go back and keep changing the filters. He decreased the amount of money that he was charging, especially to at one time he said if you elderly or you're not financially able to pay, as long as we could get someone to donate all of the parts to it, he installed them for you for free. That's what he was doing at one point in time. So he tried to get financing from different places, including some of our state, county, and local people to back him up and to assist him with getting funding. That didn't help. That didn't happen. However, that 47 million that we got sitting down there, there's no reason why we should not be able to use that to help supplement and at least take care of some of the problems that's in our homes. That's why our people are sick right now. People are going to keep getting sick because no matter what you do, you're getting exposed to this water. We need those whole house filtration systems. We need to go down there and start to talking on not just a national, on a local level, state level, on a federal level. When they have World Water Day, why can't we be a part of World Water Day and start to talking to some of those people? Every year they give funding for those different programs. Why can't we, even if we don't get enough to take care of all the homes, why can't we get enough to take care of some? Some is better than none.
All right. I'm gonna her ask the next question. So information poverty and political inequality are under attack in the city of Flint. How will you address these issues in the second ward to make sure residents have current information about city business?
One of the main things to keep people up to date, because, and I understand, it's hard and it's kind of hard to sit through a city council meeting when you're talking about it start at 4:30, 5 o'clock, even 6 o'clock, and it's going well to after midnight. That's not an easy thing. However, what can happen, they have the notes that's typed up from the meeting with every one of the with everything that's talked about, everything that's voted on, who voted, and all that's all public document. We need social media is one of the main ways that most of us communicate these days. If we really want to think about it, it's a very few people say, "Oh no, I don't want to get on Facebook. I don't want to get on Instagram. I don't like that." However, that's the main way. If they choose to receive it in the email, let's get an email blog and list. If they don't want to get it that way, we need to find another way for them to be able to get it if they're interested in having an update. Everybody's not interested in it. But if they're interested in getting an update, these are the methods and the ways. Can we help you with getting email? Can we help you? Because those things can be sent out to you. So I don't know. I'm thinking that's the question that you were asking me. How can they be informed and updated on different things that's going on? That's the main way: social media and by email. And if the push come to shove, and snail mail for a few folks, we can do it in a hard copy form.
All righty. Next one. So how will you use your platform to share oh wait, no, that was something else earlier. You answered that. What will happen with the Merrill School in the second ward?
We got so many people that's interested in Merrill was a pillar of excellence in the second ward for a long time. Mr. Munnerlin did an excellent job up there, and I think a lot of people are just would like to see that same old feel that he gave to the community come back. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Merrill School is targeted. But we also got King School, that's also a great school, and have the big field and all of that other stuff. And in a great area, they did use the field this year for football this summer. However, Merrill
Hmm.
School, because that's something that's going from the school board, I do know it's one of the properties that they say is going to probably be available. Just talking to some of the school board members, but what exactly is going to happen at Merrill School, I have no clue. I don't think they even know what's going to happen right now because it's still in limbo of selling it. Who, whoever would buy it, what are they going to do with it? It's still in limbo. They don't even know if they're gonna tear it down. From my understanding, there's parts of it that's leaking. That's what I heard. So I'm not for sure if the building is totally usable at Merrill.
Not surprised by if it's leaking. It's been abandoned for years.
Yes.
All right. Hopefully we can sneak in one more question really quick. So, communities impacted by lead tend to have issues with increased violence. How will you address the health and safety of residents in your ward experience violence, especially gun violence?
I'm just going to tell you, this is something that's interesting. We just completed training for safety and crime prevention. Now I'm just going to tell you, in the second ward, we got 3 neighborhood associations to be awarded $1,500. I just picked up our check just today. We're sharing that. We're going to put out. I'm not quite for sure exactly what my neighborhood association will decide to do, but one of the things we talked about is those signs out there asking about slow down, driving. Put the signs up in some of the high crime areas that let them know that this is a high crime area and that we're watching. Though the city is going to be donating 2 signs to every one of the groups that are will be getting that. We need to talk, because if you don't live that far away from over here in the second ward, we need to talk about where you live at. We need to build up more neighborhood associations. It's power in numbers. You could call them and complain all day long by yourself. But if you are a neighborhood association, you can complain and you can have things and make a greater force and impact by a great neighborhood association. So that's in short, because I know time is getting short, but we do want to get out, and we are going to have that money spent by November the 1st and to impact this area. There's some hotspot areas that we definitely are looking at and we need to get taken care of. And
All
working
right.
with the department too.
I like that. Kind of little bit unsure about having signs up that scream high crime to
No,
people.
it's not gonna say high crime. It's in those high crime areas that it's gonna let them know. Remember the old signs that they used to have when they had illegal drug trafficking signs? Do you remember those signs being out when they had them out a long time ago? You might not remember. You might not. I don't know. I, I don't know. I might be dating myself if I start talking about all of that. We talked about that before. I might be dating myself with those signs that they had out, and they was letting you know that these was high crime areas. And when I say that, I'm serious. Those areas was targeted. Those areas had high drug trafficking, and they had signs out that was warning and letting them know, putting the drug dealers on notice as well as the community. You need to beware. There's trafficking that's going on in our areas right now that we probably would be surprised at. That's real talk. Some of us probably wouldn't be, but those signs are going up. We aware of them, and that's a part of the crime prevention. That's a part of that crime prevention. We actually talked to them and asked them, can we put a sign at this particular spot because we know what's going on there, and they said yes. The police, I mean, what are we to do? You got crime that's going on. You getting a lot of shooting that's going on in those areas because of it. The police responding? Not always properly. They're not always showing up. They're not always calling. They're not always coming out, or they're coming out after the crime occurs and happens. How many more lives are we going to lose because they're not responding in enough time? We got to do something.
Yeah, I want to talk to you all about it, but our time is now up,
No,
and it's
sounds
actually a
good.
minute over up.
I'm sorry.
So I want to thank you for coming out.
Yes.
Uh, thank you for your time so much. Thank you for all the information, all the feedback. I'm sure everybody in the audience appreciated this much too. We love hearing your guys' response, and we want to get to know you guys. You
Yes.
are you're our ward. You're our leaders.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. I hope you stay in tune and watch the next few debates that are happening in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
I wish you luck on your race.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And so I can go back and see the recording, right? Because I seen a lot of comments coming up, but of course I couldn't really, read them all the way. So I do want to see some of the comments that was there.
Yep, you can go on our Facebook page. We also live stream this thing there, so you can just watch it all there.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds wonderful. I sure will.
Alrighty.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Take care.
You
Thank
too.
you. Thank you all so much for attending. And we hope to see you again next week for the third debate. Have a good night.
You too.